The secretly disgusting history of royal palaces. Royal palaces like the Versailles, Hampton Court Palace, Tower of London look so beautiful. Despite these palaces being luxurious and designed to impress, it would disgust you to find out the dirty history behind them. Imagine streets filled with garbage, vermin and human excrement. In medieval times, true cleanliness was out of topic for royals throughout history, so the next best option was to mask the stench. Palaces would be filled with scented plants and flowers. Courtiers would douse themselves in perfumes and hold scented sachets to their noses as they moved about. This unsanitary way of living no doubt led to countless deaths throughout royal European households. It was not until the 19th century that standards of cleanliness and technological developments improved life for many people, including members of royal courts. Ancient royal palaces had no plumbing systems. During the reign of King Henry VIII and his court of over 800 people, they toured throughout history and moved in more than 20 different palaces, residences and churches, not because they wanted to experience the fun of it or the king could afford it, but because they actually needed to escape the disgusting messes large royal parties produced. Palaces, like Henry's Hampton Court, had to be constantly evacuated so they could be cleaned of the accumulated mounds of human waste. As you can probably imagine, the lack of plumbing was the most pressing issue in the royal palaces of old. The plumbing system of medieval castles was designed so that waste products would flow straight into the moat that surrounded the castle. These garderobes extended outside of the walls of the castle and had opening at the bottom that would empty into the moat water or flush toilets. Royal functions typically created huge messes, including mounds of human excrement that needed to be removed from the palace, so the king and court would move to a fresh palace while their previous location was clean. Because of the lack of toilets, you weren't left with many options. Either you went outside and did your business in the street or behind a tree, or you stayed indoors and used a chamber pot. Chamber pots were scattered around and periodically emptied by the servants. The human waste was then stored in enormous underground chambers, which would eventually have to be emptied. Unfortunately, many of the courtiers couldn't even be bothered to find a chamber pot. They would sometimes just drop their breeches wherever they had a modicum of privacy, such as a hallway, a staircase, or a fireplace, and do their business right there on the floor. High-heel shoes and umbrellas were in great demand since people used to throw their crap out in the streets of the smelly cities. In the 1400s, the French king by the name of John the Fearless had a toilet situated on the very top of his tower. It had a padded seat, chimney heating, and an air circulation system to minimize odor. The toilet was connected to a 25-meter shaft leading to a septic pit that allowed liquids to drain and solids to settle. The solids would be removed by tradesmen. John the Fearless had access to a vast supply of cotton and linen rags to wipe himself with. At that time, the common folk wiped themselves with a plant called common mullein, so the fearless king's supply of cotton and linen rags was a huge luxury. Europe partially met with a toilet culture in the beginning of the 18th century. The toilets of the day in a castle were built against an outside wall, and the waste either dropped straight down and out or ran through a sort of gutter and into a hole into the moat or elsewhere. Royals hired servants to take care of their excrement. In the 1500s, the King of England's toilet was luxurious, well according to the standards at that time. Being a royal comes with privileges, of course, like someone wiping your bottom for you. Royals had the honor of hiring chambermaids, or a groom of the stool. Whenever the king or queen had to go to the toilet, they would do it on plush velvet cushioned portable seat box called the close stool. Once they answered the call of nature, their servants would come in and dispose of the waste. Even though this was a disgusting job, this was actually a highly respected servant's position, because it meant that they were trusted enough by the king to handle intimate bathroom matters. The grooms of stool were good friends with the king. The biggest reason men wanted this job is that they had time every day to talk to the king, allowing them to influence their masters or make requests. Because of the access to the king, this very personal service was reserved for men of gentle birth, even held by those of rank or nobility. For example, King Henry VIII of England, during his reign, he employed 4 such grooms. They were all knighted. Henry's first groom of the stool, holding the role from 1509 until 1526, was Sir William Compton of Compton in Warwickshire. This position was almost like that of a therapist, listening to the king during his morning poop. These men were even given the title of Sir, and had a portrait painted of them. Later kings appointed one person to the task, who would travel with the king in his portable stool if he went on a journey. Romans had public toilets that were made of stone benches with holes carved in the tops. There would be multiple people sitting next to each other, without any privacy. Interestingly, it was common for people to hold meaningful conversations and even settle business deals with the shake of the hand, all while sitting on the loo. Kitchens were infested with urine. At the Versailles Palace, for both royals and servants, women pulled up their skirts up to pee where they stood, while some men urinated off the balustrade in the middle of the royal chapel. According to historian Tony Spofforth, author of Versailles, a biography of a palace, Marie Antoinette was once hit by human waste being thrown out the window as she walked through an interior courtyard. The heavily trafficked latrines often leaked into the bedrooms below them, while blockages and corrosion in the palace's iron and lead pipes were known to occasionally poison everything in Marie Antoinette's kitchen. Not even the rooms of the royal children were safe. Henry VIII at least tried to make his kitchen clean, therefore he gave specific instructions to his kitchen staff, suggesting that their hygiene was somewhat disgusting. They were no longer allowed to work naked as they had the tendency to. They weren't also allowed to wear filthy, dirty garments as they had done before. They were also to stop sleeping in the kitchen. He gave orders for courtiers not to dump dirty dishes in the hallways or anywhere they felt like throwing when they finished eating, but despite it they still didn't listen to the king and turned a blind ear. In fact, he sometimes found dishes left on his own bed. How disrespectful. An occasional court exodus could have reduced the wear and tear on Versailles, perhaps leading to fewer unpleasant structural failures. As can be seen, bathtubs were non-existent until much later. Bathing was done in a bowl, spit bath, a river or stream, a bathhouse, a large wooden vat. To make matters worse, what they did not have was modern soap, detergents, and deodorants. As a result, most people had noticeable body odor. The soaps available at that time were mostly harsh and unpleasant to use. Most soap was lye soap, very hard on the skin. Castile soaps, made with olive oil, were known, but were very expensive. Plain water alone will not cleanse off more than the surface dirt, and will not remove the bacteria that cause body odor. To make matters worse, to fully immerse into water was thought to be bad for you, unless you went somewhere into countryside where water had some special properties and was considered healing. In medieval times, warm water led to the pores of the body opening up and letting in miasmas, or air that was believed to be dangerous to the body. Thomas Moulton, a physician writing in the mid-1500s, wrote that people should avoid bathing in hot temperatures, for they openeth the pores of a man's body and maketh the venomous air to enter. Many people believed in Moulton's advice and avoided bathing in hot water. Louis XIV is rumored to have bathed twice in his life, as did Queen Isabella of Castile. Marie Antoinette bathed once a month. The 17th-century British King James I was said to never bathe, causing the rooms he frequented to be filled with lice. Living in such conditions was definitely not easy, but that was what they thought as the best option in those days. Today, many royals still move from residence to residence, but for pleasure, not because of filth. That's all for today.